Hi Anti-Society, welcome back to the Antisocial Planet, and today we're getting to some more NMIXX with, and Latin is not one of the languages that I know super well, but I'm gonna go with Expérgo. I'm sorry, okay? Latin is not one of the languages that I know, but I'm going to do my best and assume that is what the album is. I got 2 songs left with Just Did It and Home, but I will say that the title of this album apparently means to wake up. So I find that very interesting, not just because we've had stories up to this point with Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, and Peter Pan. All of those stories have this kind of implication at the end of the story that it could have been a dream. There's this kind of ominous, not totally like clear answer at the end of those books about whether or not the main characters are waking up, and it was all a dream. And then the next album we have A Midsummer Night's NMIXX Dream, which is also like the end of that story is like the famous Puck speech of just assume this is a dream if you don't like the kind of fantasy element of it. So I think that's a really interesting thoughts swirling in my head. But we're gonna get to the last couple of songs for this album. Okay, Just Did It. Let's see, these are intense photos. I like the colored lights on it though. Oh, okay. No, I'm getting why we got some intense vibes going on. Whoa. Okay, first off, strong start. And then I was like, oh, I love that held note at the beginning that kind of falls off. And then we have some more of that kind of held notes that are happening in contrast to the production that's happening. And even though Just Did It, right? There's a bunch of like stops in that, like consonants wise. So it's a little bit of a sharper thing, right? The T, D sounds being repeated in that. So it's a lot of a kind of sharper sound, even the E vowels, right? Id and E that are being used there cut off sharper sounds, and then having that in contrast to these like longer held notes is really fun. A little slow down. Wait, before y'all get into this drop, I was like, we got fairy tale. I like the rendezvous, right? Meeting up again. And I love even the like idea of Just Did It, right? Like just going for it and not letting anything get in your way, right? Given that we have on this album with Love Me Like This and even like Password, right? Which are these very straightforward, strong, very like not like shy or retiring, or they're definitely not holding back on their thoughts and what they're feeling. And saying that I won't doubt, like I'm gonna go for it. I'm just gonna figure it out as I go. And even the like meeting again, like gravity, right? Like we're just pulled towards each other. I think that there's some really fun imagery in this. I like this off-kilter synth. Whoa. Whoa. NMIXX, right? So we're gonna have a switch up at some point, right? Even the idea there at the end where it was like we want to hear it, Just Did It, right? This idea of not only going for it and not saying doubting yourself or questioning yourself or getting stuck in your head about something, right? Like going for it, I'll see what happens before I get caught up in my head about it, or if I start to doubt myself, which is something that has come up even like Young Dumb Stupid, right? It was like, who cares? I'll do something stupid and I'll learn from it, and then the next time I'll try something something different. That idea of just being like, all right, make a mistake, look stupid, who cares? And I think it has a similar thing here of just, I'm just going to do it. Like, I'm just going to try it. And saying, oh, even by the time you say, oh, you want to hear this or you want to see this, I've already done it. I'm already a step ahead, right? Because I'm not getting caught up in the like, what ifs or what are other people thinking or what if I mess up, right? None of that is going to stop me from already just going for it and trying something new. And by the time anyone is like pointing, being like, oh, like you should be trying this or this is a trend or whatever, it's I just did it. I'm already a step ahead. And I think that's a really fun like angle to take that as well. Really fun synths. Beautiful vocal run there. Vocals. Ooh, I love that speed up too. Like I was saying, there's so many fun moments of speeding up the cadence in contrast to some of those held notes. I love the connection too, because I'm also thinking like password, right? All this imagery of like connection and Wi-Fi and all of that, especially for a group that like debuted when they weren't able to go out and do live shows and like connect with fans face to face and all of that. So I think that's also fun, especially with this angle of like being one step ahead or like already doing things like breaking rules and trying different things, right? Like the whole point of NMIXX is to do something a bit off kilter and unexpected. And like in a song where you're talking about that kind of bravado a little bit to it, to be like, I see through you. Like I understand that you're acting this way, like you're not quite sure, but we're gonna come together like gravity. We've got this connection. It's like magical. And it's almost like even if you're going to try and not be pulled in to my orbit or like the things that I'm making, you can't help it. So I think that it's fun to have some of that imagery of with password and Wi-Fi and everything, that kind of like wireless connection kind of feeling of even when you try to get away, it's I can reach you anywhere. You won't be able to escape. And I think we've all had moments where we have an NMIXX song stuck in our head. I certainly do. So many times where I'm definitely singing, even like Love Me Like This, I hadn't even gotten into the group and I had just heard that clip of the song because it had gone like super viral and it's been stuck in my head ever since. It's stayed there permanently. So I think that's so much fun. Even like the who's surprised that I was able to convince you that I finally caught on to you, right? Being like, eventually everyone comes around, right? Beautiful to like flip up before we get into that descending cadence. Good drag on her voice here. Well, that's fun. Love the bass line. Whoa, I love that we just have the little breakdown there. Again, NMIXX changing it into almost this like acoustic, some little bit of a sound, like pop track. I think that's so much fun. And I think that's a great way of transitioning into some of the like brighter voices in the group as well, because the chorus kind of lends to a bit of that. Like I was saying, I really liked, I think it was Bay, it said here, obviously, lyric videos are what they are. And I'm sorry if I don't know what everything that's going on. Doing my best. But having a little bit of the kind of lazy drag to the voice and like a little bit of a lower part of the range, right? So it fits really well for that kind of chorus, but you also want to make sure that you're highlighting some of the other voices that have a little bit of a brighter tone to them. So I like that we're having some of that kind of little bridge interlude. Thank God for a song with a bridge, right? I'm so starving for that at this point but that's a rant for another day. But I love the like instrumentation there, a little bit of a filter on what sounds almost like a brass section in it. Like, I think it's so much fun. And again, playing around with all those different kind of like genres and sounds and doing things that are a little bit off kilter, especially for a song like this, because it's just like fitting into that NMIXX pocket, right? Like, they're not just saying all these things, they're showing you that they're going to be doing all these other things. It's, oh, you should maybe put like a little bit of acoustic moment. They're like, I just did it. Yeah, I did. It's maybe you should have a little bit of a like darker sound, or it's maybe a bit of a rap cadence on your chorus. Yeah, I just did that. Yeah, we got that too. So I love that they're like showing all of that off, like even within just this one song, right? Ooh, fun. Filling in the chorus.
We just did it.
I also love the switch there from I just did it to we just did it, right? So like more of a collective feeling from them as a group, and adding in all those other elements, right? Like adding in some of these brighter elements into that final chorus so it doesn't have that super dark bassy feeling again, so you can get some of those brighter sounding voices in there, but also it's, hey, even when you think you understand how the chorus of the song works, we're going to add something else in, right? And I think that it's such a good example of them being able to like weave in and out of like a bunch of different sounds and put them all together into a single song. Is it jarring? Yes. Is it off kilter? Yes. Is it pulling on a bunch of like interesting production stuff? Yes. But their vocals sound great. They've got a certain attitude and character to their performance. I bet it's super fun to watch them perform this because they seem to have such like animated ways of performing songs, and I think that their songs lend really well to it because they don't need to be like super serious with their songs. There's always this little bit of a like fun, joking, lighthearted feeling to their music because they're like, it's really not that serious. Like, we're going to show off a bunch of different talent and all of that, but the reason we're mixing up all these different sounds and like genres and things is because it's fun, right? Is because it's interesting. It's because it's different. That's why we're doing it. So I think that this song is like a really good encapsulation of some of the stuff that they were doing earlier on, but I think that it's really interesting to see how they went from something like this as like a lead single early in their career and then shifted a little bit into kind of catchier singles, right? Which still have that kind of like mix change up thing going on, right? But it's not quite the same kind of jarring, attention grabbing kind of way that I feel like they were like first few songs. And this is leaning a little bit into that, but it's a little bit more refined. And I feel like it's also like putting it as a B-side to an album is, hey, for the people who like when we play around with that a lot more, here's one of those songs. But also we're going to continue to evolve. We're going to continue to try other stuff. And we're also going to have something that maybe is a little bit more accessible for a lead single, because a lead single is supposed to get people's attention and bring in new people and mix in its purest form. I also think it's pretty funny that I was like, hey, we've all had an NMIXX song stuck in our head. And then just mentioning that Young, Dumb, Stupid exists, stuck in my head now. My brain is just, oh, we can pull that song to the front of our mind immediately. So that's where I'm at now. Home. I don't know what we're gonna do with that because we already did the like sweet song with My Gosh. So maybe we get more than one. I don't know. These pictures make me feel like we're maybe doing something a bit less intense, but who knows? It's NMIXX. Oh. Hello?
Sirens 잠시 멈춰 보다 더 큰 new waves need to ride yeah 다 던져두고 떠날 뒤에 나의 dream 마침표가 아닌 시작점을 찍고 start 지금부터 좌표를 좀 다르게 찍어볼 준비 됐어 done.
Whoa, okay, first off, the like darker start to this for a song called Home. Like, I'm just used to a song called Home being like sentimental, right? But I love that we're getting like a bit of a darker, it's almost like being comfortable, right? Like home is where you feel most yourself, where you feel most comfortable. And sometimes that can be like when you're in that pocket of what you know you're really good at, right? So it feels like they're in that a little bit. And it's also talking about like the end, leave for my trip. It's almost, again, I think it's interesting given that the name of the album is like To Wake Up, and that tends to be the end of these stories, right, that they've been referencing with Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, Peter Pan. So I think it's interesting to also have that, like they all go home at the end of those stories, right? And there's this implication that it might be them waking up from a dream as opposed to like actually experiencing the things that happened. But I also think it's a bit of a, I don't know, victorious return, right? Like you go home and you've accomplished something, right? Especially if you're like a performer. You go, you do your performances. There's so many things going on with all of that, right? All the promotions. And I know with the Oh My Gosh video, that was like them actually getting to go out and play shows and stuff. Home is the after all of that, right? You get to come home and rest, be more of yourself, recharge a little bit. I like this idea of riding like a bigger wave, right? So that aquatic imagery coming in, but stop for a second and recharge, and then you can move on to the next big thing, right? Like then you can see what the next journey is going to be, right? The next adventure. Really interesting descending synth there. Whoa, okay, interesting that we're actually getting talks about waking up. Call or like signal, we got that too, right? It was an alarm going off saying, come wake up, no time to chill, or no time to like rest. A little bit different than what, like I was saying before, but again, this idea of wanting to move on to the next thing, wanting to do something else. I talk about like coordinates are going to be a little bit different of the things that we've done up to this point, right? So they've done music, they've done promotions, and I think it's really fascinating to get to the end of this kind of part. Like I was saying, waking up is usually the end of these stories that they've been referencing. This kind of coming of age. All of these stories are about like the transition from like childhood into young adult, right? And then though like waking up and continuing on like the next phase of the journey, which is like progressing into young adulthood. So I think it's really interesting to have that at the end of this album and all these stuff that has happened, keeping that in mind as I like go forward into the next music videos for them. But I think it's fun to have this kind of almost like alarm sound, right? Like the way that you kind of wake up to your alarm going off, like throwing the pillow in the corner, being like, I can't sleep. I don't even want to accidentally fall back asleep, right? So it's like throwing the pillow away. So it's like, I couldn't even fall back if I wanted to. So I think it's even like dozing off, right? It's like, I can't even like daydream because I have to continue on to the next thing, right? I like some of these scoops that we're getting in the melodies. Ooh, good little mixed note there. Beautiful lighter sound there. Beautiful mix. Okay, so we got a good mix there from some of their voices, both from Lily and Soyun, and then getting a bit of a lighter like head sound from Haein there. Beautifully done, both in terms of like interest, but like having this fun kind of bounce, right? There's a little bit of tension of the like wanna go, like having that, there's a little bit of that tension in the way that they're singing. I was gonna attempt to sing that with more confidence, but I was like, no, I'm gonna let them do it. I get intimidated to sing around them. I'm like all right for a fun karaoke night, but I'm not like up to their level. There's this fun tension to the way that they're the cadences of this, and I love this idea of I don't want to go home. I want to continue on to like bigger and better things, right? I don't want to stay stagnant. And it's like I was saying before, but like NMIXX continuing to evolve, continuing to troubleshoot or take new approaches to what they're doing, and not getting bogged down by doing the same things or doing predictable things, and their sound continuing to evolve as they like figure out their footing. So it's we're gonna move on to the next thing. We're gonna try new things going forward, but also again the kind of journey that we're talking about in some of these fictional stories, going home at the end is accepting the fact that you have to grow up or you have to do the next thing, and this is almost like a lingering or like wanting to go on another adventure. And some of the, I think all of them have like sequels, right? There's continuations of all of those books where they go back to this kind of like world of fantasy and make-believe, which I think is interesting too, to say I don't want to just stay in this reality. I want there to be something like magical and whimsical and something that is outside of what people are expecting, right? even like go anywhere, right? Ooh, okay, fun too. We talk about like connecting the dots of making a picture, right, on the map. You talk about connect the dots, right, almost like this little puzzle. But we also have the no concluded answer, which I think is fun again for, you know, them as like a specific group, but it's also saying, hey, there's no like end point. There's no, we figure out what the kind of like formula is, right? And that's just like the end of what we're doing. It's like I was saying, it feels like they're continuing to refine their sound, figure things out, try different things. They're not trying to fit into the same like pocket every single time. They're already taking like a unique lean in terms of the music that they're putting out anyway. And like the way that they're promoting it too, like the way that they're doing like the like acapella medleys and stuff, right? Like they're doing things that are outside of what is expected or like standard, right? Because they're trying to find different avenues to show off what they can do. So I like that idea of we're going to like not take the same path because that's boring, right? We're not going to walk the same way that everyone else has. We're not going to do the same things we've already done, go on the same journey. We're going to pick a different destination and continue moving. We're not going to just stay somewhere because we're like, this is good enough, right? We're going to continue to keep finding like new unique places. I think that's a really fun image for them specifically. And I think also given some of the aquatic imagery that they have, right? There's so much unknown about the oceans and like water, and there's so many different things that we don't understand about that's kind of like space. There's a little bit of like space imagery in some of their stuff too. So I think that's fun. There's something almost limitless about what you could discover in ocean and like aquatic life and things like that. So I think it's fun how they pull all of these overarching images together in their stuff. Beautiful. A little jump up. Ooh, I love that we mixed up the order there. Pun intended. I think Haeun might be my favorite. If it's actually her voice there, I think her voice is my favorite on this track. Love her voice and lots of other stuff too, but there's just something about the way that she hits that like head voice right at the beginning of her lines. Beautiful. I like the really heavy percussion too. Beautiful. This is look, we're gonna go back, but beautiful, gorgeous tones from both of them. I love a dark tone anyway, but I love the idea of drawing, right? Say like the imagination of that or the whimsy of that, but also like we have the connect the dots of those are like drawing pictures, right? And it's a childhood game. So I like that they're bringing in some of that like whimsy and games. And again, not taking things like too seriously, but not in the way that like they don't have kind of the conviction, right? It's not like treating something like it isn't important. It's like saying, hey, why not have imagination, right? Why not have fun? Why not enjoy the ride, right? I feel like, again, going into some of the imagery of coming of age and like becoming young adults and like dealing with reality. Usually a lot of the time we say, hey, deal with reality or grow up or be an adult. Usually that means be more serious, right? Be less fun. Why are you smiling? Why are you enjoying yourself? That's not being a grown-up, right? And as someone who unfortunately has to be a grown-up now, and there are things that I get stressed out about, okay, I can agonize with the best of them. Sometimes I'm just out here having fun and being whimsical, and people are looking at me, they're like, you need to grow up. And I'm like, why? Sounds terrible. I like that they're bringing in some of that vibe of games and imagination and having fun. And even this idea of not wanting to go home makes me think of when you're a kid and no one could convince you to come back inside, right? Like a long summer's day and you're just like out playing and having fun and imagining like worlds and playing pretend. And the moment that like your parents are like trying to encourage you back inside. You're like, oh, this is ridiculous. Why would I want to be inside? So it has that feeling of I just want to be going out and doing things and trying stuff and like seeing where my imagination takes me. It has that feeling of like boundless possibility. And I think it's really fun, especially with the layered vocals, like the kind of crowd vocals that are happening. I think that's super fun too. That kind of call and response, because it has this feeling of a group of people just like out exploring and having fun and like seeing the world.
멈추지 않고 달려가. Don't wanna go home.
And of course the vocals.
닿지 못할 거라서 저 벽을 넘어서 새로운 낯선 세상을 향해 go. 속도를 더 높여. 질서 없이 go.
The vocals.
Everywhere, now we go. I don't wanna go home.
Aw, even at the end there where it's talking about all the places that we've dreamed of, right? Again, that idea of make-believe or fantasy or like being in these like other worlds and everything, right? So even though this is like the end of this album, I know that we still have My Gosh, which I've already checked out, but that was more of a specific song for like fans. This feels like they're ending some of the story of this album, saying, hey, I don't want to just go back to the way things were. I've had a taste of what this other world and like fantasy and imagination is like, and I don't want to just go back to things, and I don't want to just go back to what's familiar, right? They're talking about like go into like the unfamiliar world. Like I want to see something new. I want to do something new. I want to explore and imagine. And like I was saying, like referencing to Young, Dumb, Stupid, of being like, I want to do something dumb and mess up and learn and try again. Like I want to have the opportunity to grow, right? And the only way you can do that is to try new things, right? Explore, especially when you're young, right? You don't know what you like or what you're good at or what you're interested in until you like start to explore it, and then you start to like refine, right? The only way for you to like really be happy and to find out what makes you happy is to like try stuff and see what happens. So I love the feeling, even though it's a song called Home, it's almost like feeling at home, being on the move, feeling at home, exploring, right? Like this idea of feeling the most yourself when you're like out seeing what the world has to offer and interacting with it. And there's this feeling of wonder to it, right? That childhood wonder of the endless possibilities. And I think that's really fun, just as like a concept, but also like for this group in particular, especially we're talking about waking up in like places that you've dreamed of, right? It's like instead of just living in a dream and a fantasy and imagining something, I want to actually go out and live it, right? I don't want to just be in my head thinking about things. I want to go out and do things now. And I think that's a really fun way to, what it feels like, transition into maybe something a little bit different in the next few songs, but I guess I'll have to wait and see. Really fun couple of songs. I think that it did a really good job of kind of showing off some different facets of NMIXX as they tend to do, but I think it also just progresses some of the story that I've been picking up on with their music and some of the kind of themes and things they keep going towards. And it makes me very intrigued to see what we're going to be getting to in the next release, because this is their first like album, like EP that they got, and they got to do like promotions and stuff that were like actually like out doing stuff, right, as opposed to like more at home lockdown things. So I'm excited to see what the next few releases are going to be, especially since we have the reference to A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is a production that I spent 2 years of my life performing, so I have probably more knowledge of that than I need to at this point, but it's in there forever. Excited to see how that might play into what they're doing with those releases, whether it's lyrically or visually or whatever, because I think that it'll be really fun to see how they play off that story, which isn't like a children's story, but it does take from mythology. There's like fairies and magic and stuff in it, but it's definitely more of a mature lean in the storytelling. So excited to see how they might continue to evolve as a group as I go forward with them. But I had a really fun time with these couple of songs, and I hope you enjoyed listening to them along with me. You can click this playlist to go into my previous reactions, or you can subscribe so next time I post an NMIXX reaction. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.